Hello and welcome to GCS Today here on Channel 21, the program that brings you news and information from Gaston County Schools. I'm Todd Higgins. On today's episode, we talk with Angela Calamia about the Gaston County Schools nutrition program. Plus, we learn how the Backpack Weekend Food Program is providing nutritious meals for students on the weekends. Joining me on GCS Today is Angela Calamia. She is the Director of School Nutrition for Gaston County Schools. And Angela, it is good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Mr. Higgins. It's good to see you too. It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's talk about school nutrition. How does it operate in Gaston County? How many employees do you have? What is your role as the director? Tell us all about school nutrition.
Okay, well, so here in Gaston County, we have about 400 employees that work in school nutrition. Some of them are out in the schools, in the cafeterias, preparing and serving the meals. And some are over here where I am, over in our central kitchen down in Lowell. And those employees prepare and receive in the food. And we also have a fleet of trucks that have drivers that take the food to the schools each day. And some offices here as well. So yeah, there's about 400 employees. Right now we have a little shorthanded, so there's not quite as many. My role as the director is to oversee this entire operation. School nutrition is a federal funded program, so there's a lot of shall we say, red tape that you have to work through. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of responsibility to be financially fiscal. So that's my role. I oversee all the purchasing of the food and the supplies that we use for this department. It's a very huge budget because, as you know, we feed a lot of children in this county.
And it's a big operation. I think that is one of the things we want people to understand is that in Gaston County, we have a central kitchen facility, and that is in addition to all of our school cafeterias. So it really is a big operation for the school district, and it's a lot for you to serve as the director of the department, the school nutrition department. Now, let's talk a little bit about school nutrition and the pandemic. Since the pandemic began in March of 2020, it has been busy and it has been challenging for school nutrition. So tell us about what school nutrition did since you're still doing during the pandemic to provide nutritious meals for students. It has been a big undertaking.
Yes, it has. And it's been very different than anything we've used to doing in the past. So when the pandemic first happened and children were not in school, everybody was virtual, we had to quickly transition to providing meals that children could take home and eat. You know, we're used to having children come through the cafeteria line and serving them that way. So it was only a few days before we transitioned to providing meals at the curbside that families could come through, pick up their meals. At the same time, we ran some buses for children who didn't have the ability to come to the school and pick up a meal that we brought to neighborhoods. But those were compact, confined meals. They were hot meals for the most part, but they were able to be taken home. And then we also did weekend meals as soon afterwards, where we could provide meals that they could take home and eat on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that was until school began at the beginning of the 2021 school year. And at that point, as we know, children were in school part-time, part virtual and part in-school learning. And so we had to transition to feeding children in the cafeteria. And when we were done with that, we went to the curbside to feed the children that were virtual that day. So it's been very different. And I guess the challenge is you have to be able to change at a moment's notice, because during the pandemic, we never know what was going to happen the next day. So to be poised and ready has been really difficult. But our staff has been wonderful. They have adapted and changed anytime we needed to.
From the grab and go meals that were put in place right when the pandemic began, transitioned that with the summer nutrition program,
Mhm.
with the grab and go and the delivery of meals to locations across the county.
Yes.
Students were back in school last school year on a blended schedule. So you
Mhm.
did the meals at school, and you also did the grab and go meals. And then now for this school year, we have students back at
That's
school, and you're back in the cafeterias. That I just say, wow, when you stop and think about all that has been done
Yes.
with your staff and with the school nutrition personnel in the schools. It has been an overwhelming task, but you all have done an excellent job, and you are to be commended on your efforts to provide those meals for students in the best way that you can. So I want to thank you and your staff and all of our cafeteria personnel for going the extra mile in making all of that happen.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
So give me a few numbers. So for example, tell me the number of meals that have been served by school nutrition during the pandemic.
Well, it's probably just about 5 million meals that we served.
And
Yes.
that's a number that I hope people will stop and think about and take in.
Mhm.
5 million meals for children in Gaston County since the pandemic began in March of 2020. So that has really kept you busy, to say the
Sure
least.
has. Yes.
So let's think about school nutrition this year. We know the pandemic is ongoing, but
Yes.
we're hoping that this school year can be as normal as possible for students and teachers and families. So what is new with school nutrition this year? I understand that there are some new menu items.
Yes, yes, Mr. Higgins, we're trying to offer some new menu items. For the most part, we're trying to at least go back to the options we had before. You know, children were having parfaits and smoothies and all kinds of nice things that we produce here in Central Kitchen. However, during the pandemic, we weren't really able to do that. This year, we've started out the year providing those things and having children have a choice when they come through the cafeteria, as they're used to doing. And we've introduced some new items, chicken wings and drummies and things. I will tell you, we are having supply chain issues, just like everyone is seeing out in the world right now. So I hold my breath that these items come in and that we have them to produce. But so far, so good. We have deliveries are delayed, all kinds of things, and I ask that parents and teachers be patient, because sometimes we may have to change the menu at a moment's notice. But we're doing our best to provide as many choices as we can right now.
And I know that students want those choices. I know I've heard that the smoothies have been very popular among the students. And I think that the message that we want parents to realize that is that your staff, you work very hard to make sure that meals are well balanced, they're nutritious, they meet the guidelines that they are supposed to meet. And also you want to provide, staying within those guidelines, you want to provide menu choices that students like and students will enjoy. So
That's right.
You have to balance all of that to provide a meal that students, a breakfast meal and a lunch meal that students will enjoy.
That's correct. Yes.
So if you could speak to parents and you had a message for parents about school nutrition, what would that message be?
Well, the first thing I would like parents to know, if they don't know already, that this school year, meals, breakfast, and lunch are free for all students in Gaston County School, whether they are financially qualified for that program or not. Because of the pandemic, we are able to do that. And like you said, Mr. Higgins, the meals are nutritionally balanced. You can not worry if you send your child to school without packing a lunch or a breakfast, or without breakfast, that the meal they get, what we offer is meeting all guidelines for nutritionally sound school meals. Meals have rich in whole grains, fresh fruits and vegetables, protein, milk, all those items are provided. to your student with a choice of what they like to have during the day. So I want parents to know that. I want them to know that our staff here is dedicated to providing good service to their children. They have come to work during a pandemic, worked through thick and thin, and made sure that we haven't missed a beat and that all meals have been served, whether it be inside the building, outside the building, or for them to take home. So we're here for them.
And I think a message for parents and students: take advantage of
Yes.
what's offered in our school cafeterias. When I was in school, I loved eating lunch at school. I love the school lunches. And I think now you have a whole lot more choices with
Yes.
school lunches. So I think we want parents to also encourage their children to take advantage of having those breakfast and lunch meals at school.
That's right.
Okay, one more question that I want to see what you think about. With
Okay.
all of your work, and your work, as we have said, has been challenging and very busy recently. What is it about school nutrition and your work with school nutrition that you love the most? What do you enjoy the most about your work?
Well, I'd have to say the thing I enjoy the most is working with the staff that I have, being surrounded by people that I know really care about this program. They care about the children they serve. It makes my job easier because they're going to always go above and beyond to make sure things get done correctly and efficiently. Like I said, it makes it a pleasure really to come to work. And I truly believe in the program. You know, school nutrition program is providing a service to children like no other. I mean, you know that if a child's hungry, they're going to eat, we're going to feed them, and we know that they're not going to learn if they're hungry. So I feel like we contribute in such a big way. And that's what drives me each day, you know, even during these challenging times when it has been more difficult. I've been doing this a long time, and this has been really a difficult time to manage. But that's what drives us here. You know, we know that we're doing something good for children.
And I think you said it so well. We realize that children who are hungry, they cannot learn the way they need to learn.
That's right.
And so school nutrition is an integral part of the educational program we have in Gaston County Schools. And I like to think we have the best school nutrition program in the state. And you can find it right here in Gaston County Schools.
I think so too, Ms. Higgins.
Angela Calamia, our Director of School Nutrition for Gaston County Schools. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining me here on GCS Today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You are watching GCS Today here on Channel 21. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Joining me on GCS Today is Dallas Butler. She is the Executive Director of the Backpack Weekend Food Program here in Gaston County. Dallas, thank you for being with us. It's good to see you.
Hi, Todd. Thank you so much for having us today.
Okay, let's talk about the Backpack Weekend Food Program. What is it?
Great question. I often think a lot of people know about who we are, but I find that a lot of people still don't know about us. So thank you for this opportunity. The Backpack Weekend Food Program is a nonprofit organization that provides weekend meals to students who are identified as being in need. We provide that food to them on the weekend so that they can ultimately come to school the next week ready to learn. We have been in existence for a little over a decade. We actually recognized our 10 years last school year. So we are very fortunate to be able to be here today, to be able to continue to serve students in Gaston County Schools specifically, and ultimately to allow them to have a better future.
And your organization has a great partnership with the school system. And so we applaud what your organization and your volunteers have done over the past 10 years to provide those meals on the weekends for students. So let's talk a little bit about numbers. How many backpacks are filled each week? How many children are served? How much food does it take to fill the backpacks? And I imagine it takes a lot of volunteer help. How many volunteers do you have? Let's talk about some of those numbers.
Yeah, and so I often say, and I'm going to start with this, that this is a community-wide program. We could not do what we do. We couldn't serve the number of students that we serve if it were not for the community who has embraced this program from the get-go. And Gaston County Schools was one of those big strategic partners from the beginning. So it does take many individuals, and it's very often hard to pinpoint an exact number of volunteers. Just because of the sheer volume that we have who are a part of it on some level. But I will say that we generally say around 500 or more than 500 individuals throughout the community in the form of, the faith community, our partners, school volunteers, you name it. Those are all considered our volunteers. And so we like to use that kind of round number that are part of the program and make it possible. As far as the number of bags and the amount of food that go into the bags, we provide food bags to students each week during the school year. And we provide enough food to feed students, to feed them 3 meals for 2 days. And then if there is a 3-day weekend situation, then we would provide an additional 3 meals for them to take home on the weekends.
And if I'm recalling correctly, you serve about 1,000 children. Is that still the number?
We do. We generally feed between 800 to 1,000 students each school year. And that number tends to fluctuate. And you probably know as well as I do that schools and enrollment numbers are changing a lot. And so we are seeing those numbers fluctuate weekly, even daily. And we take those, we're enrolling students throughout the school year, but we tend to see those numbers peak around the winter months. And then they start to trickle down as we get closer to the end of the school year. So it is a very fluid number, but we are always trying to meet that need as long as that need exists.
And it has been interesting to see how the program has grown over the years. We know that this program is the brainchild of Carolyn Niemeyer, and she did a lot of work in the beginning to get everything started, to begin the partnership with the school system, and to see that program continue for 10 years, now going on into the 11th year under your leadership as the executive director. It says a lot about community support and community involvement and the willingness of our community to step forward and say, we are going to help children in need. We're going to help those families in need. So talk to us about who supports the program, how the program is funding, because as you said, it really is a grassroots community organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it truly is. And I'm going to start with the first person that you mentioned, Mrs. Carolyn Niemeyer. She was the one who had the idea, who had the prick in the heart, who watched a news story about a community very similar to Gaston County and began to think and put some ideas around it and began to put the right people around the table. And so that's how this program began. And it began out of her own bedroom, or actually it was her daughter's bedroom, if I'm being honest. And so just as you said, it slowly grew based on the need. And just a little historical some historical information. We started in the elementary schools, just like any nonprofit organization. You want to start slowly and grow as you were able. And so we started in elementary schools, and then a couple of years if that, we entered into the middle and high schools. So yes, it did take a lot of people in the beginning. So I want to also mention Caramount Health, who is a very strong strategic partner with our program, as we are able to purchase food under their premier partnership buying power for food. So that allows us to feed lots of students each school year. But we do not receive any other funding except through donations. We do a lot of grant writing, so grant funding is a big source of our income. And then we also have fundraising projects throughout the year. So we do at least one event, large event during the year, and then we rely on those donations in the community. So we are always looking for ways to, especially with the current circumstances and COVID, as we all have experienced, we've had to get creative. We've really had to reach out to the community, and by far they have done nothing but extend that support, if not even a little bit more than they have in the past. And it's really humbling to me to see people's reaction and their response to this program, because what it's telling me as well is that they believe in what we do. They believe in the mission, and they truly want to help us help students and families.
And it certainly does help students in Gaston County Schools. Like I said, the students that are in need, the families that are in need, to provide those meals on the weekends. Because when you stop and think that a child may have lunch at school on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and that child may not receive a meal again until they come back to school on Monday for breakfast, it shows you the importance of the program and the need for the program.
Mm-hmm. It does. You know, I volunteered for the program prior to my taking the very big role that I have taken as the executive director. And so I had a little bit of knowledge of the program, but I will say that it wasn't until I had my son, who is now 5 years old, in kindergarten, it will be 6 years old in November. It really hit home to me, and I could not fathom the idea that any child, whatever age, could be living under those circumstances. And it's sad. It's unfortunate that we have that in our own community when you think about all the things that we have, and we have access to so much, the abundance of things. However, we still have that situation going on in families' homes, and it's no fault of anyone. We don't look at it that way. We look at it as an opportunity to serve and to meet those needs as long as we can.
So what goals do you have for the future? What do you want to be able to say about the Backpack Weekend Food Program when the program celebrates, let's say, its 20th anniversary?
Ooh, 20 years. You know, I didn't ever think that we would be 10 years old. I know that Mrs. Niemeyer didn't think that either. The program was formed sort of as what she said, a Band-Aid. We were in a very tumultuous economic time. It was there was a lot going on in 2011, and so this program was brought together in hopes to be able to meet the immediate need, and it continued to evolve. And so what I would like to be able to say ultimately, and I know she would agree with this as well, is that there would be a day that we wouldn't need this program, that students were going home to their households that have food, and they don't have to worry about going hungry or where their next meal is going to come from. And they don't have the anxiousness coming to school or feeling hungry, that would not be a concern in our community. Unfortunately, we are where we are, and COVID and other economic situations has compounded a lot of that. And so we're still needing to have this organization in our community. So my hope would be just that we are here as long as the need exists, whether that's for one student or 1,000 students, that we are here and we can continue to fulfill that mission.
Well, we are grateful for everything that your volunteers and everyone associated with the Backpack Weekend Food Program. We are grateful for everything that you have done to support the students in Gaston County Schools. And we encourage our viewers to go to your website to check out more about the program, learn more about the history, learn more about what you do and to learn how to get involved and be supportive of the program. Because I love what you said. As long as there is a need, you want the program to be here in the community to help with that need.
Yes. And thank you, Todd, and thank you to the school system and Dr. Booker for your continued support and collaboration with our program. Thank you.
Dallas Butler, the Executive Director of the Backpack Weekend Food Program here in Gaston County. Thank you so much for being with us here today on GCS Today.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching GCS Today here on Channel 21. Before we go, we would like to recognize and thank Classroom Central in Charlotte for donating 54 boxes of school supplies to Gaston County Schools. The supplies were distributed to new teachers to use in their classroom. Additionally, we would like to congratulate Highland School of Technology student Lauren Tolbert, who was named the Class 1A Most Valuable Performer for winning individual state championships in the 400-meter run and the 800-meter run. And we want to recognize and congratulate our Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Aaron Slutsky, who was chosen to serve as President-elect of the North Carolina Association of School Administrators. Stay tuned to Channel 21 for the latest news and information from Gaston County Schools. For GCS Today, I'm Todd Higgins. We look forward to seeing you next time.